Thank you for joining me tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun, I hope.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
what
people
do we got there?
blast.
What do you got? Oh, I'll do a little cheers to you. I'll do a cheers to you.
Cheers.
I,
Cheers,
I
cheers,
am
cheers.
not as
Big cheers.
grown up as you are. I have, I think, my 1988 Superman cup from Burger King. And
Well, hey,
so, uh,
you are more fun than I am then, because I mean,
oh,
hello, Hydro Flask with a bunch of stickers on them. So
do not let the cup fool you. Oh, I am the antithesis of fun. I am where fun goes to die. But that's cool. That's very kind of you to say. Sam, this is the first time you and we've spoken in writing back and forth.
oh yeah,
I follow your content and I love it. But this is the first time you and I have ever talked live, so that's pretty cool. It's an honor to finally speak with you.
yeah. I mean, we've always like talked about the idea of us talking face to face through a live, or even on YouTube, my
Yeah.
podcast, which is starting to become my YouTube channel. So yeah, it's really great that we can finally do this now.
Yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored. This is so we decided that tonight, our first episode, we're going to be talking about Aquaman, and really focusing on the sequel, but really just talking about Aquaman in general, talking about his live action outings so far, which there really haven't been many. We've got Aquaman. Now we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom coming up. We've had AC. I'll call him AC on Smallville.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Arthur Curry there, and we had a failed pilot that never
Yes.
materialized. Yeah, the Mercy Reef with Justin Hartley, which I think has only been released as like a bonus on some kind of DVDs, but you can watch the entire episode on YouTube at this point. Someone just wrote in the comments that DCEU is about to come. Well, yeah, I think we're all Black Manta does look great in the trailer. I think we
Fantastic.
both agree on.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I generally don't clamor for comic accuracy when it comes to the movies. There are just some things that don't translate well. I don't know how you feel about that. But the Black Manta suit absolutely is stunning. I mean, it really looks like it's ripped right from the pages.
I mean, like, I love the first suit a lot. I actually have the Funko Pop behind me.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
I was like, okay, they cannot perfect it anymore, but they did. They gave us, like, literally, like you said, a suit that looks like it was pulled right from the page of the comics. Yeah. And like, it's probably one of the best live action comic suits of all time right now.
Right. I mean, I was the only one watching the trailer, and when they got to showing Arthur's baby boy, went, oh, it's not gonna go well for this young man at all. I mean,
my mind did not go there immediately, but just on comments, and I was like, oh God, oh no.
Yeah, this poor little guy's not gonna. I mean, if we're going, if it looks like it is going for some kind of comic accuracy, we are that little man is not making it to the end credits, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, and apparently, well, I've heard the reports of how, like, a lot of people walked out from the movie because of a real gruesome scene, and someone's sort of like, is it the baby death?
Yeah.
And Armini's like, how much are they going to show? But it is the death of Aqua Baby.
Yeah, maybe it's the death of Aqua Baby. Maybe we're gonna get like Aquaman's gonna lose a flipper, and maybe put a hook in there. You know, who knows what they're going to do?
I mean, yeah, I want the hook in at some point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, why not, right? I do. What is that? Autospaker. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Yeah, I that's my opinion. I do think we're gonna end up with a hook hand Aquaman. I think somewhere in a factory, somewhere downtown, there is a pile of Funko Pops with a hook for a hand that have been waiting for 2 years to hit the shelves. So
yeah,
I
don't know, because there's some. I don't know. This kind of makes me think about the DCU, because I feel like, him losing hook for a hand is something you wouldn't just leave off on just in the final film. But then again, maybe they did this, and of course, WB's like, oh, by the way, you're done. So
yeah,
sorry. So yeah, for all I know, yeah, they could do it, and then, well, who cares? We'll get Aquaman in the DCU again, then in the DCU, then they can just redo that story all over again.
Do you think at any point we're going to see, and I remember reading a while back that the WB executives were really keen on Jason Momoa, but not necessarily in the Aquaman role. Do you think we're going to see more Jason Momoa down the line? And if so, who do you think is going to play? And if so, why Lobo? No, I'm just kidding. But do you think we're going to see him down the line again?
Definitely. Like right now with you with everything with WMDC, it's so hard to tell right now with who they want to keep, who they don't want to keep, because you recall
Right.
those things where Gal Gadot was said to be staying as Wonder Woman, but I don't know. To me, that would seem fair since they ditched Henry and Ben. But when it comes to Jason
Hmm.
Momoa, I mean, they can keep him, and they can always just recast him as, like you said, Lobo, because even he said, I want to play Lobo.
Right. Right.
So I definitely
Well,
think that, like, yeah, he could stay around, but just be a different character. Now, so that can happen for maybe some of the other former DCU actors. They could just be recast as different characters, or who knows? Maybe we get a Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever, or a Kingdom Come movie. Maybe we'll get Henry Cavill as old Superman. We'll just have to see.
mhm. uh, I agree. I agree. I do think the possibility is that we are going to see him again, and why not? I think audiences would be very kind of
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word forgiving, but certainly not like beholden to the idea that Jason Momoa has to be Aquaman. I think if we saw him pop up on in the DCU as Lobo, I don't think people would give it a say like, "Hey, that's Aquaman." People aren't going to go nuts with it. I don't think people's memory or devotion to the DCEU is anything close to what it would be for the Marvel. If we saw Robert Downey pop up again as a different Marvel character, I think people would be reluctant to accept it. I don't think we're looking at the same thing at all with the DCEU.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That the movie was supposed to come out.
A
Uh,
long time ago.
I can't recall the date, but it's been a number. I mean, I'm thinking 2 years at this point now. But I could be wrong. If not 2 years, relatively close to 2 years ago.
Well,
And it's been
yeah.
delay after delay.
Yeah, because I think COVID played into it, and of course the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial probably played a
Yeah.
part. So we're like, okay, let's go through and edit out as much as we can with her because we don't want to go down with her.
Well,
So I mean,
you
it's been
just
a while. It's
you,
been a long time.
you just brought up Amber Heard, so let's get to that out of the way right now
Yeah,
because she's been very public. I mean, very public figure, almost as cartoonish as the character that she's portraying. Now, if you've noticed that in the trailer, she's got about zero point 0.3 seconds of screen time, and James Wan, the
yeah,
director, has come out essentially said, whereas the first film was romance, this movie is bromance,
yeah.
and we should not expect to see much of her. In all reality, do you think this is tied to the trial? And if so, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's tied to the trial because even if I was in his shoes, I would not want her to be heavily featured in the film because, well, that's bad press, and of course she's now like public enemy number one
Right.
to us all, and yeah, like yeah, I would, if possible, I would try to have her like in there as little as possible, even like keep her out of the press tour, which I'm pretty sure she is
Well,
now.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I think even with the writer and actor strike, I think it's actually a kind of a win because none of them can do the promo. Unless there's some kind of contractual obligation in place. But I at this point, I'm going to doubt that. But I mean, they might have dodged a bullet there because she probably can't uh, promote the film in media, which I don't think she would even want to at this point. I mean, judging by her reaction to her absence from the trailer, her probably minuscule presence in the film itself, I think Nicole Kidman had more screen time, significantly more screen time in the trailer than
He did.
she did. Yeah. Um, but uh, of course, Nicole Kidman, a great actress.
Oh yeah,
I think they've also stated that we should not expect a return of Volko, played by Willem Dafoe.
which is really, this sucks because I didn't want to see more of him.
I did as well. No, the question comment is how long do you think the writer's strike, the actor's strike is going to end? I wish I could pretend to be some kind of industry insider that know that kind of
I
stuff.
I wish I had that
Yeah.
knowledge. I really wish I did.
I mean, God willing, I know people that are because of this now on the verge of. when I say on the verge, I mean the inevitability in the upcoming weeks is that they are being let loose. They are not actors per se, they are not writers per se, but they are in the
Industry.
entertainment industry, and as
Yeah.
a result of this, are about to be out of a job. I don't think a lot of people realize that whole trickle down effect. We're not too worried about, you're maybe not too worried about the Kardashians. You're not worried. They're worried about these big multi-million dollar actors, but there are people who were living paycheck to paycheck and needed that
Oh
money
yeah.
for themselves, their lifestyle, their friends, their family, whatever it may be, whatever the hell you want to do with your own money. But that's drying up real quick. There's no billion-dollar reserve for these people. So I think a lot of people need to be understanding in that it's more than just the actors. It's more than just the writers. And so the quicker it ends, great. But there's going to be that residual effect that we're going to feel for a long time.
Oh yeah. I mean, of course, everyone knows how like, everyone's sitting down today. All the heads and the main people are sitting down today. So hopefully it will end soon, but
Right.
we'll have to see.
Uh, there's so many cool people coming in and out of the chat. I think it's amazing. Comics and Coffee is here, so that's pretty cool. So thanks for joining us. But there's right. I agree with you. Hopefully it ends soon, because I'm an entertainment junkie. I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, same.
It's,
Honestly, that's
yeah,
why I'm still doing this years later.
yeah. Uh, it, it, but getting back to Aquaman himself, or at least the film, what are your expectations for it? Do you think we're gonna see like a Blue Beetle-ish situation where, adversely, where Blue Beetle I think had a good amount of promotion,
Oh yeah.
but kind of whimpered in and out. I actually can't even recall the box office of Blue Beetle off the top of my head, but I'm assuming it at least hopefully broke even. But in terms of reaction to the general public, demolished by the Barbie, Oppenheimer
Yeah.
juggernaut this summer. Understandably, I don't think a lot of movies would have done well in that kind of social media wake, but it's a shame too. I really had high hopes for Blue Beetle. Now we
I mean,
have
I
Aquaman.
liked it. I enjoyed it.
You know what? I got to tell you, my wife even said multiple times, "You want to see it?" And I keep saying to myself, "I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait for it to appear on Max." And I really miscalculated. I figured they would kind of pull like a Flash, where it would just be in the theater 1 minute, on Max the next, and I really miscalculated. So I missed the boat on that one. Even last weekend, she's like, "Let's go." I'm like, "It's probably on its last legs in the theater, about to hit streaming." And Comics and Coffee said, just watched Aquaman again today. I think it's a great movie and have the highest of hope for Aquaman compared to the rest. I assume the rest that we're talking about, the rest of the DCEU, which I believe Aquaman is the final component of the
Yes.
DCEU.
It is. It is the very last
Right.
DC film, which is kind of hard for me to think about because I recall when it was just starting out. Like we had Man of Steel, BVS, and then we had
Yeah.
the whole after Arrow special, and then like break down the oh yeah, we're gonna do Justice League, Flash, Green Lantern Corps, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and of course look at it all these years later, and I'm just like, well, that worked
Right.
out really well, didn't it?
Are there any films in the DCEU that really kind of stand out to you as uh, timeless now, like that will um, just be something that people want to revisit?
Probably, well, definitely the first Aquaman because that one was really special. Just I love the visual story. In fact that they made Aquaman cool again,
Mm.
and
I mean, yeah, yeah.
and maybe it's the first Wonder Woman, but someone did compare it to First Avenger, saying it's just like Captain America First Avenger, but with a Wonder Woman skin on it, which I can kind of see. But then again, it was such a really good wartime movie, and
Hmm.
yeah, but I think those are the only two that I think will really stand out, unless you are a diehard Zack Snyder fan and love and praise Justice League, the Snyder Cut. I
I
liked
mean,
it,
I,
but
I do have to say, in defense of the Snyder Cut, as opposed to Joss Whedon's
yeah,
Avengers, as you just mentioned, and someone had pointed out, I can't recall who, in a video that if at any point you took a freeze frame of the Zack Snyder Justice League, it really does look like it was ripped from the books. It looks like it could be a panel from a comic. Whereas Avengers, at any moment, if you pause it, looked like it could be from an episode, like a Halloween episode of Gilmore Girls. You know, it just looked like very low quality. Even though, you know, obviously it's a hit movie, probably did way better
Oh
than
yeah.
anything in the DCEU. It did bring up a good point, and then of course, you know, you had to test it, and it does hold up. Um, but I get, but Man of Steel, you didn't put, did you put Man of Steel in there?
Not really, but then
Yeah.
again, now that you think about it, definitely Man of Steel as well because I don't know. It's like I liked it when I was younger, and then as I kind of got older, I was like, nah, it's not really that good. But now, like as a more mature adult who has really taken a step back and looked at it, I can see why people like it. But
Mhm.
is it like my favorite superhero movie of all
Oh yeah,
time? Not really, but I do applaud it for being a little bit different.
I got to tell people, I got to tell you, Sam, and this is something that I have, and I get why Hollywood does it with product placement, but there are two things that really take me out of a movie is overt product placement, in
Yeah,
which Man of Steel has so much. The Sears, the IHOP, 7-Eleven, all that stuff. It really too much for me. Mark and Ken walking around with a Sears lanyard. To me, you know, but I think it was a Budweiser when Superman's drinking a beer, he's drinking like label out. I found it to be extremely distracting. I just couldn't take it. I
yeah. I can't say that either. Like that's why I can't withstand most of the Transformer movies because it's just like so much product placement everywhere you look.
you didn't care for the Mountain Dew Transformer, you know
No,
no.
no
Nor
one
I.
did.
Nor I.
No one
No,
did.
it's too, that kind of stuff. Oh, the Bud Light. I forgot about the Bud Light when the ship crashed and Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg drank a Bud Light. Oh yeah, absolutely terrible. But I find that kind of the other thing I always find distracting is when like things hit the screen, like blood splatter or dirt and stuff like that. I'm like, I know I'm watching a movie. You don't need to remind me I'm watching a movie. So those are my least favorite things. So Man of Steel, I think. Now, bear in mind, the original Superman with Christopher Reeve also had like that product placement where I think Zod is tossed through a giant Pepsi truck. You know, so I get it, but I think Man of Steel was a lot more egregious.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do think, and someone had brought up the good point in the comment too about uh, our lack of interest in the DCEU mirrors the studio's kind of
Yeah.
lack of interest. When you wait, like, what is it now? Like 2 months, 3 months prior to the release of your film,
Yeah.
and then start showing trailers. Uh, and I swear by this because I don't know if you recall the day that the WB announced that they were releasing the trailer in 4 days for Aquaman, there was this sweeping rumor going all through the internet that they had just given up on it and were releasing it right to Max. And I felt like the WB was releasing that teaser for the trailer as a hey guys, we're still releasing the movie. Other than that, I think if that rumor hadn't got wildly, I mean, I really am basing this on actually zero information, just a gut feeling. If that rumor hadn't become so pervasive, then we would not have even seen the trailer at this point yet. Or you know, I could be wildly wrong, but it just feels like it was too coincidental.
Well, I mean, it's proven in the past that the audience or the fans, poking and prodding and kind of, I wouldn't say bullying, but maybe I don't know, harassing or
Yeah.
being vocal. Let's say that that's nicer. Being vocal has shown results with movie studios. I mean, like you said, the Aquaman trailer, the whole Sonic redesign.
Okay. So the Sonic redesign is a beautiful example of the internet saying, "What the hell just happened?" and the studios responding to it. Uh, but do you think at one point, at any point, audiences are kind of, and God willing, I know I'm one of these people, feel a little too entitled when it comes to the release of these films, as if they need our the fans' approval for the film?
Yes,
Right.
I feel like yes, we're kind of nearing the border of entitlement, and I can already feel I'm going to be the most hated person ever after this.
Mm.
But it's the truth. Just yeah, I feel like a lot of us are really like
Yeah.
entitled, even after, even like with some of the news I post. I've seen people being, why are you doing this and not this, and oh, why does this costume look like that? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, just be grateful for crying out loud. Be
I,
grateful.
you know what? I want to come back to that notion in 1 second, Sam. A few good comments. Just what what are we talking about? We are talking. This is our first ever episode of Nerds Night Out. This is that Sam. I'm Tom, and we are talking about the King of the Seven Seas. We're talking about Aquaman and pretty much Aquaman adjacent things right now. In terms of a favorite actor to portray Aquaman so far, are we talking? If we're talking about across all media, uh, Phil Lamar. Whenever Phil Lamar voices him, I feel like I can't recall correctly, but did I think
Um,
Phil was that he was the Injustice Aquaman, I believe,
uh, Injustice and Young Justice, I
and
believe he
Young Justice.
voiced.
I remember. I remember he did. Phil Lamar did who? The Green Beetle, I think. Uh, and I know he did Orn on Young Justice, but I'm trying to. If he did Aquaman, listen, Phil Lamar is voice acting gold. I mean, whatever he touches is fantastic. So if we are talking about live, excuse me, if we are talking about animated, I can't argue with that. Phil Lamar is legendary.
He's
Uh, it, it,
definitely in the like Hall of Fame voice actors for me.
oh
Like
yeah,
he's definitely my top 20 voice actors of all
right.
time.
I mean, just an entire generation grew up with uh, Phil Lamar's Green Lantern. So I think, and I'm uh, a John Stewart fan largely, and I always tout why I think John Stewart should be at the forefront of any kind of Green Lantern thing
Oh
going
yeah.
on. That Hal can maybe take a back seat, but that gets me a lot of hate, by the way. But I do think he created a hero for a generation. You know, that voice is when I read John Stewart, I read it as Phil Lamar. Uh, all right, brother. It was nice. Thanks for stopping by. Uh,
Thanks.
in terms of live action, I mean, it's there's not really much to go with. We've got, I mean, in the first Aquaman movie, we technically had like, I guess you'd say four versions of a live action Aquaman. Probably
Yeah.
baby, little boy, teenager, and then grown up. So let's rule out the first three and just stick with Jason Momoa as the Aquaman because those, I mean, the teenager, God bless him, he probably tried his damnedest given what he had, but it was that's probably my one downside of that movie. I did really enjoy Aquaman. A lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends didn't particularly care for it. I really enjoyed Aquaman, especially seeing Topa. I think that Topa was the octopus that was playing the drum. I mean, for a lifelong Aquaman fan, that's pretty cool. But in terms of live action, you really have to go with Jason Momoa. We have Alan Richardson. Richardson, am I saying that right?
Richardson.
Richardson. I mean, currently, who is he's Jack Reacher, right, on the Amazon series, and
Um, yeah, Jack. No, he's not Jack Reacher. Oh yeah, Jack
yeah,
Reacher,
the TV show. Tom Cruise was
the movie
the
version.
the movie version, and of course, he was Hawk on Titans. Titans.
Great role. I didn't love him in that role. He
Oh,
was really good.
he nailed it. He nailed it. He really like, um, you know, whatever criticisms you could have of Titans, I'm sure there are many. I think
Oh, there are.
his Hawk was superb.
Stand out.
He did a great job. But and you know what? I posted recently because I don't normally watch the Fast and Furious movies, but in Fast X, we had Jason Momoa and Alan Richardson sharing the scene together. So I think it's the first time we had two actors who played Aquaman side by side.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
So
oh yeah. I saw that. I saw that reel.
yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm still. I have to go with Jason Momoa. I mean, we've seen him a handful of times. Each time radically different. I do like how he walks that fine line between kind of comedic and heroic. He's comedic when he wants to be, heroic when he has to be. As opposed to, and one of my main criticisms of the MCU is, with the exception of Black Panther, everyone's a comedian. And now we were starting to see that toward the end too with the DCEU, excuse me, especially in the Flash scene where Batman, Wonder Woman, and Flash shared a scene. It was just played for sheer comedy, nothing else.
Yeah.
How about you, Sam? You got a live favorite
Good
Aquaman?
question. Well, I definitely like whoever voiced him in the Justice League animated series because, well, I'm a DCAU diehard, so I'm gonna always go for him.
Who did the voice in the DCEU?
I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
his name,
Yeah.
but I mean, I like
I
him.
don't know either. Yeah.
Phil Lamar, like him as well. So those two are my favorite Aquaman voice actors. But when it comes to live action, I haven't seen a lot of Richardson as Aquaman Smallville, so I'm gonna have to go with Momoa as my favorite live action Aquaman.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe with whoever they get for the DCU, that'll change immediately. We'll just have to
Right.
see.
I agree, Chris. That I do think that's Momoa does have a lot of charisma. I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah, he
really,
does.
I mean, uh, again, I'm not to keep referencing Fast X with them, but I think that was a Jason Momoa movie. I mean, he stole every scene he was in. He was really, really good in it. Like, just absurdly charismatic and entertaining, really fun to watch. And that could also be said for him off screen as well. I love watching his interviews. I love watching his interactions with other celebrities. He generally looks like he's
Oh,
enjoying
yeah.
his status, and that you kind of you want to root for him when you know that he's enjoying. Seems like he's a good guy, so it's hard not to root for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so the comment was I love the DCAU to death, but it's Aquaman. I always thought it was okay. And I'm going to infer that okay, like okay, he was okay. I do think they underutilize him, but if you recall at that point, I think the underutilization of Aquaman was an edict passed down by the studio and
Yeah.
his characters. Remember, like they didn't have Black Manta, they had Devil Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and plus, I mean, it's a Justice League show. It's not Aquaman guest star in the Justice League. It's the
right.
Justice League, and they will have Aquaman when it feels appropriate. And oh yeah, John
Yeah,
DiMaggio as Aquaman. I
yeah.
forgot about that one.
You and I both had the same reaction, like, oh yeah,
John
forgot
DiMaggio.
about that. Yeah, yeah. Oh yes, I'm Aquaman. Like I love it. Yeah, that's a fun show. That's a straight up fun show, and
Oh,
that's the
I love
kind of
that.
show. Yeah, I mean, you can watch that with a 7-year-old, 17-year-old, 37-year-old. It doesn't matter. They all. I don't know why I chose those random numbers, but you can enjoy that with just any age, especially for fans of the Silver Age, which I am. I just think the Silver Age silliness is one of my favorite things in the world, and that show fully embraced it.
And plus, it made it work so well because if you think about it, like it would look so stupid like in live action. So and that's when I'm glad it was animation because just yeah, it just works so well, and I'm
Right.
surprised that they made it possible because I mean, like the Joker mobile, all
Mhm.
the kitschiness, like with Dietrich Bader's line delivery. Sometimes, like he sounded like he'll say lines like right out of a Silver Age Batman comic.
Mhm. Uh, yeah. So that would be cool. See Jason Momoa and Chris Hemsworth in a film together. They would now, and they are two celebrities for whom I have no problem
Oh
rooting
yeah,
for.
same, same, same.
Yeah, generally seem like good people, good family people, good actors. Um, wildly, they take on wildly different roles and are able to absolutely nail it. So what do you think, Sam? What do you think? Do you think um, in December we're going to see big box office for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom?
We'll have to see. I mean, so far people seem interested in the film, but then again, that could quickly change with some of those early screenings, early reviews. But
Right,
so if I have to guess, maybe it'll get sort of middle of the road.
middle of
Uh,
the road.
yeah, of like it's good, but not
Right.
great.
Well, no matter what, I mean, it's the tail end of a doomed shared universe.
Yeah,
Um,
so I mean, so obviously it's like I'm not holding my breath for success because it is coming off of it is literally ending such a, I'm sorry, I'm saying this, train wreck of a cinematic universe to
Yeah.
where people have lost faith in it a long time ago, and it only has like a few holdouts who are just also doing it just to be loyal.
I hate to do this, but let's say we had to play a blame game of sorts for where and who where or and who caused the DCEU to go off its rails.
Oh,
If you had,
that
man,
that's a loaded question. That is a
hmm.
very loaded question.
You know, it's not possible to point the finger at one person in particular,
Yeah.
uh, but I'm going to. I'm going to blame The Rock. I'm going to blame The Rock. I tell I and
Yeah, he's definitely part of the problem.
I'll tell you why. I believe he was technically the first employee of the DCEU. I think he was the first actor even hired to play a role. Now I know it took a number of years before Black Adam hit the screen, but I do believe he was, and if someone could fact check me on that, I do believe he's the first to join or hired, and then the way he kind of bullied his way with the studio and bringing back Cavill and then just letting him go, just really an ultimate nerd betrayal on his part.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a huge sort of power play, cheat. Boy, let's bring back Henry Cavill to set up Black Adam for Superman, and of course,
Mm-hmm.
it was all sunshine and rainbows when Cavill announced like, "Hey, I'm back to Superman. We're gonna do Man of Steel
Yeah,
2," and
yeah,
then cut to months later. Oh, never mind, I'm fired, and they're
right.
gonna be rebooting everything. So I definitely think The Rock, because he just created empty promises, and basically he wanted to try and make Black Adam the star of the DCEU. But in my mind, I also think it's the executives who were just, they panicked to where, after Batman vs Superman flopped, and then they were like, okay, let's try and stay strong with Wonder Woman. Okay, that did good. That did okay. Now let's try Justice League. Oh crap, that did not do good. Okay, panic. Let's cancel all these projects. Let's give them a Wonder Twins movie. Let's give them a Batgirl movie.
Yes.
Let's give them movies they never even asked for. And to me, yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely part of the problem of them just panicking, scrambling,
Okay.
and just completely shooting themselves in the foot when they had a pretty decent layout. They just had to figure out how to stay the course.
I agree with you. I for one, was quasi excited about the idea of a Wonder Twins film or seeing Batgirl, and I still have hope that one day that will leak somewhere. I know they said they deleted it for insurance purposes, but I tend not to believe what I hear. So,
They,
um, but a lot of comments, especially the one about we had talked earlier too about Jason Momoa being recast, and we are hopeful that we will see him again in the DCEU. Excuse me, the DCU. James Gunn has had a
it's so hard to keep them like, it's so hard to say which one
uh,
because your brain automatically wants to say the DCU because that's what we've been saying for years, and it's
right.
like the DCU, and yeah, that's gonna take some getting used to after it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I do agree that if a movie called Batman versus Superman doesn't make $1 billion, then there's something wrong. I agree. I mean, that should have been the groundwork, foundation for excellence, and I still stand by though. If you have not seen the ultimate cut
I,
of,
I own that one actually.
oh, I mean, it is almost like a different movie, in my opinion.
Different
Yeah,
movie. I mean, I know some people were butthurt about Batman killing, but then again, Keaton's Batman killed, so I didn't have a problem with it.
yeah, yeah.
And plus, this is a more grizzled Batman who's who's probably coming off the death of Jason Todd, so I could probably see why he's so angry. But my thing is that they went to. I think they should have done like Superman 2 and then Batman vs Superman
Mm-hmm.
and I also think part of the downfall with the DCEU is that like they were trying to catch up to the MCU of
Agreed.
okay, they already have a team of films. So let's do Superman, Batman, and Batman meets Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and then we should probably be at a good point. And yeah, so definitely part of the downfall of them was that they rushed.
I agree.
Was that they wanted to try and get to the team up, try and catch up with what the MCU has already gotten. Which I believe they were in the middle of Phase 2 when BVS came out, or it was just starting Phase 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think this idea that they thought they were running the same race as Marvel Studios was part of their downfall. I mean, I think a lot of people also thought they were running their race. I mean, if you recall the presence, short-lived presence of the Dark Universe, Universal's attempt at that monster movie universe with Dracula Untold, which I just ended up watching recently. And was surprisingly good. I thought it was a lot of fun. And The Mummy with Tom Cruise, both of which flopped terribly at the box office. So, Marvel's got a lot of imitators, but DC did not have to be one of them. They just looked like a Johnny-come-lately in this situation. They just looked like they were faking their way, and it backfired terribly. Right. If you watch the original Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
In the Flash scenes where, excuse me, I probably chose the wrong word because Flash is a character, but in the beginning where they're flashing the bios of the villains, it does mention that that Harley had killed Robin.
Yes.
And I think they did confirm that it was Dick Grayson, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I misspoke. I'm sorry, but yeah, they did say it was Dick Grayson, which I'm with him. I'm with Baker as well. I do not like that. He is my favorite Robin next to Tim Drake. So I'm just like, why would you do that? Just do Jason Todd, and then that can pave the way for the Red Hood. If they ever did the Red Hood and they saw a Batman movie, which I don't think they were.
See, and getting back to that idea before, you were talking about making films that no one asked for. I mean, obviously, the Wonder Twins was just, really out of left field. I mean, that was really out of left field. But they are sitting on a landmine. Geez, that's what Wonder Twins was. They were really sitting on a gold mine of characters that would look and perform incredibly well on the silver screen. Red Hood being one of them. Superboy, Connor Kent. Oh hell, even the Super Sons themselves in a live action movie. If you had a young, I for whatever reason, the storyline of aged up Jonathan Kent, it works. I like it, but the duo of the teenagers of Damian and Jonathan, that was, to me, gold. I think they abandoned that even in the comics too quickly. On the silver screen, it would work great.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, like I said, Wonder Twins is out sort of left field, and all of us are just like, why the Wonder Twins? I mean, yes, have them, but focus on some of the characters that actually need a movie. Like, I think they were going to do a Satana project, but then that got canned, and then they're definitely focusing on the wrong characters.
I agree. In terms of the Matt Reeves Batman verse, the question is, do you think they should adapt or adopt a bigger Bat family? I haven't heard rumblings of a potential Robin showing up in the Batman 2.
Yeah, I posted that as well.
Yeah. You know what? If any franchise can sell a Robin, it probably is the Batman. I think the Batman gave us a number of characters done well. They started with a Riddler that was essentially a domestic terrorist, and they did a good job with Paul Dano's Riddler was well done. At the end, where Batman kind of switches from the concept of I'm vengeance to maybe I need to be more a symbol of optimism. I would imagine that in that world, people would be drawn to the Batman and want to fight alongside of him. So I do think a Robin could work in that film.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well, because people are like, no, it's too lighthearted, too fanatic, too fantastical, or too extraordinary, or whatever. But to me, him bringing in Dick Grayson is how he becomes, a better man. It's how he learns to sort of line up a little bit.
Yes.
And of course, to answer his question of if they should adopt or adapt a bigger Bat family, I would maybe say not so big. Maybe introduce like Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon, and then stop there because we're getting the Bat family in the DCU, so I don't really want there to be some sort of over treading or or they're sitting on each other's foot.
Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I do think that you know what I always tell people the tone of the Batman. I remember sitting watching the film in the theater with my sons, and the scene where on the train that kind of Joker gang was about to
Yeah,
jump a guy getting off a train, and you hear the stomping of his feet as he's coming out of the darkness, and you hear this foreboding music. And I remember turning to my son and saying, "This feels like a horror movie. This
it
feels like
it,
a horror movie."
it did.
Yeah, and I am, and as we were just praising Batman Brave and the Bold, I am a big fan of a Batman that smiles. I am a big fan of a Batman that is not all doom and gloom. I know that the modern audiences, especially, might have a hard time accepting a lighter knight on the silver
Yeah,
screen, but I do think if you, I mean, does the Batman 2 really have to mirror that same tone as the Batman, or could it not reflect his evolution as a character and his settling into the role of the Batman as this great symbol of hope? And if you go by that notion, if Matt Reeves is taking the film in that direction, then I can see a subsequent Bat family members playing a key role in what happens.
yeah,
Uh, you know,
definitely agree.
so I don't think I'm going to miss the DCEU too much. I think it was, as you mentioned before, hit after then miss, then hit, then miss. I felt like it was really on life support for a long time, and I think it's just let it die. I enjoyed it while I was here, but its time has come and gone, and we're hoping that James Gunn is going to hold the heroes that we love with great resolve and do a good job with them. I mean, he killed it. Look what he did with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, so I mean, and plus with what he's been saying about DC, about the DC universe, and like, and how Superman should be portrayed, and him even like somehow like he has been selling DC books.
Mm-hmm.
Like he mentioned the Grant Morrison Batman run. He just recently mentioned Superman Man for All Seasons, which now is going for like $90 on Amazon Prime. So if you got that already, good for you. If you don't, I would wait.
Yeah, I agree. Right. I actually don't. I hate that stuff with these kind of like they're driving up the market and making books that were a month ago very accessible now inaccessible. And I'm not even talking as a collector. I'm talking about as a fan because there are probably a lot of young people who are unaware of these stories and would say, "Oh, this is going to be inspiration for a movie I want to check out. Like, let me go buy the book." And now people are driving up the price. Hopefully, DC will reprint them so that it will alleviate some of the costs. I'm not talking about for those people desperate to get the first run and all that stuff. I'm just talking about people who love to read.
I think that's something what they did with the first batch of books that he mentioned during his presentation.
Right.
Of yeah, they sold out, went up in price, and DC was like, okay, chill out. We'll be sending out some other books. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely panic bought Just Like a New Frontier when it was hinted that this could be the story for the Justice League movie. And plus, but I mean, I was wanting to read it, so I wasn't really upset about it when I got it, but. Yeah, I definitely kind of panic bought when I saw
Oh yeah.
that it could be a potential resource. So I was like, let me just quickly get on Amazon Prime and buy that copy before it goes up in price.
I don't know the side of you. Are you a collector? I know are you a collector of comics per se? Like are you hunting for grails? Are you getting your books graded?
Off and on. I mean, fresh out of college student, so I'm not, swimming in, cash right now. I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not making money off this yet. Hopefully in the future I will. I'm getting closer. I'm slowly getting involved in YouTube, but yeah, I don't really have money to be looking for grails right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I can barely afford Funko Pops at the moment. And those are
Understood.
probably my more focused collecting thing right now. But I mean, I do pick up the occasional graphic novel
Hmm.
if I have an interest in it. Like I'm currently running through a Doctor Strange Greatest Hits right now that I have World's Finest on my side table waiting to be picked up next.
The new World
Yes,
Finest series. Oh, that's
yes.
unbelievable! It's spectacular. I do hope you're enjoying that. That's a good one. No, nor I. By the way, I am not that kind of collector. I'm going to buy what I want because I want to read it because I want to enjoy it. I remember when I was a child. You and I are at the polar opposites here because I am. I'm 45 years old. You know, I graduated college a while ago, but I'll say a while ago. If you could, people could do math. I'm old, but the idea that I'm not one of those collectors. I don't want to buy it because it's hot. I'm not looking to resell. In fact, if anything, one of my favorite things to do when I get a hot book or a good book that I'm enjoying is I'll give it away to someone and say, you got to read this. You got to read this. You got to enjoy it. And I do think comic books should be enjoyed in that manner. But uh, I do have great hopes for the DCU with
Oh,
James Gunn.
yeah.
Um, I don't. I won't. I think the DCEU is going to go out with a whimper. I don't see Aquaman 2 breaking the box office. There's zero momentum for this movie, in my opinion. If anything, it's the love of Jason Momoa that will bring people to the screen and not necessarily any love of the Aquaman character.
Definitely. Well, tell me about Moa, and of course, everyone's love for the Black Manta suit. I think
Oh,
the Black Manta suit
yeah.
could be
Yeah,
bringing
yeah.
in the, some of those people who just want to look at the eye candy.
It is spec. He is and I love that it's a recurring villain. I love that Black Manta was the antagonist in our first movie. He's the antagonist in our second. I love the idea of Orm and Arthur kind of teaming up. But you're absolutely right. They barely promoted it at all. I think I don't mean to be pessimistic. I'm trying to be that optimistic fan, but there's a point
Exactly.
where, yeah, reality's got to set in, and like you said, that they barely promoted Aquaman at all, and I just don't see it performing well
Well,
at all.
I mean, plus again, it's the DCU. People know it sucks. It is the butt of all cinematic universe jokes. To react, just like yeah, like of course I mean positive of like okay, it'll at least make it be a moderate success, but not like the greatest DCU film of all time. But yeah, in truth, it's gonna barely make it's probably gonna barely break even in the
Yeah,
box office.
I do anticipate if I do come across one to buy myself a Black Manta. Hopefully, I haven't seen any of the McFarlane figures yet, but I'm sure they're on their way to the shelves.
Yeah,
And I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. So I do think, if anything, I might buy tickets to the movie, and I definitely will pick up the Black Manta um, action figure. So that's going to be cool. Uh, you're
I
absolutely right.
definitely
Yeah.
say as well.
No, the comment was Ocean Master was definitely the primary antagonist, but Manta was there, and you're right, he was more of a side villain. But it's cool that he's recurring. I'm not, we don't have to say goodbye to him. We didn't see him killed at the end. That drives me nuts. I mean, we're talking about characters that have been around for decades, and I don't like how freely it always comes down to let's just kill this bad guy. Uh, I'm so glad that he survived and is coming back again.
Yeah, that's
You know,
the only problem with the MCU is just like they kill off a lot of good villains like
right?
Ultron and
I knew you were going to say that would be my first one too. It was more like Weekend of Ultron instead of Age of Ultron. Absolutely. I knew you were going to say Ultron because that is the most egregious of all of their. Here's a villain. Let's kill him. He was on the internet for a day, learned to hate humanity, and was dead within like a few days. It was very poorly used.
and I think Kilgrave from Jessica Jones should have lived longer.
Oh my god, what a great villain!
Great
What a
villain,
great villain!
though. Let's be real. He probably would not really last in the movies because he would be too dark and creepy for people.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I could see that. Those Netflix series, I know they're considered now part of the MCU again. I remember when they initially were released, they were considered part of the MCU, and then, as you mentioned, because of the tone, I think they kind of distanced themselves, especially with each series really being a metaphor for something.
Yeah.
For Jessica Jones, for victims of sexual attack, for Punisher, PTSD, for Luke Cage, social injustice, and I know I'm missing one. Iron Fist was a metaphor for God damn, this thing sucked. No, I'm just kidding. I really couldn't get into Iron Fist.
I try. I mean, I liked the second season, but just in the end, yeah, it wasn't that strong of a series.
That's great. So the question is, what was your favorite aspect of DCU, and why was it Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor? That is such a loaded question. That's a loaded
Wow.
question. You can't. You know what? I didn't mind his. I didn't mind his Lex Luthor. I thought it was. I thought it kind of fit with. Uh, I remember Lex Luthor for most of his existence was that mad
Yeah.
scientist kind of role.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then in the '80s, he became that kind of Trump-esque mogul, and and then so if you got to reinvent him as like this kind of Elon Musk
Millennial.
kind of character, yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that, and I like Jesse Eisenberg to an extent.
Oh yeah. Good actor.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I probably can't think of too many movies he was in. I refuse to see movies like The Social Network. I just don't. I'm not going to watch a movie about the people who made Facebook. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I know I'm in their world right now, but I just can't
We
do it.
both are. We are under their control now.
Yes. But I did like him in the zombie movie. I can't think of the damn name of the zombie movie. Oh, Zombieland.
In Zombieland.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. But he was a good Lex Luthor. Not the best Lex Luthor, but definitely a good one.
Clancy Brown.
I mean,
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Oh yes, gosh, the animated Lex Luthor would probably go down as the best interpretation of the character by far. I agree with you 100% on that.
Definitely, and I do think that the DCU Lex needs to be modeled after that Lex Luthor, which
Clancy Brown.
will also be a good conversation for another time.
I agree with you 100%. Maybe next time that's what we'll do. Let's talk DCAU.
My guy, I can talk about that. I can talk about that for hours. I mean, I am a DCAU diehard.
Wow. Well, let's talk, and maybe we'll enter into the darker, more forgotten aspects of the DCAU, like the Zeta Project.
Yes.
But I agree with the Brainiac fusion, definitely. So I think at this point is a good time to wrap up. I think a very fun and successful first episode of Nerds Night Out, and I'm glad everybody stopped by and had a good time with us. And if you aren't following Sam, make sure you're following Sam Talks Nerdy.
Please do, because I mean, guys, the algorithm it screwed us both over like everywhere we go.
Maybe we shouldn't have talked bad about our overlords, and they wouldn't have buried us now. Yeah.
That's true. That's probably true. They probably heard that we talk shit, and they're like, "Okay, well, fuck those two. Then let's just spare them alive."
That was a miscalculation on our part. I love you, Instagram, Mr. I don't know who in Mr. Instagram. I love you. You're a good person. And
yes, thank you.
Yes,
thank you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
God Himself, Jesus, my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
God, praise you. I love you. I will do things for you.
Everything I said about you was a lie. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Like, I secretly love you. I was trying for you in my closet that I prayed to every night before bed.
Oh, look at that. We all just went up 1 million followers. Look at that. It worked.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elon. Or whoever, Mark Zuckerberg, whoever the hell owns this. Thank you, Sam. I had a blast. I hope you did too. Let's do this again. Same time next week.
We'll have to see.
We'll work on it.
Because I have a very hectic work schedule, so
you have to.
Hopefully, yes. If not, I will definitely do this again, but I'll need to make sure I have room in my schedule to do this, because I do want to do this. This is fun, and this is a way for both of us to get some more followers. Well, so definitely let's do it again, and I will let you know when I can do it.
I got bad news for you. You have to quit your job now. You have to do this full time. I'm sorry.
Well, then I'll need to move in onto your couch.
It's funny. Come on in.